Welcome, everyone. As always, a big thank you to Dot for organizing this. And this time, we have a whole series, 4 Mondays in a row, that hopefully everyone will be able to make it to. And for those who were here last time, I was told that there was a lot of interest in the book of Numbers. And so I guess it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, we began learning about the book of Numbers. I didn't realize at the time that people wanted even more. So what we've worked out is that we're going to do approximately 2 or maybe even 3 Torah portions per class. And so the last class, we really dealt with the first 2 portions, which had to do with all of the different countings, especially the first portion of the book of Numbers had a lot of counting, a lot of numbers, counting the tribes and the camps. And the next Parsha also has. But then Dad told me that there were 2 particular things that you were interested in. And since they came from the second portion, we're going to go back over that. So that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to do 2 themes from Parshat Nasso. And then we're going to go on to the next portion called B'halotcha. So the 2 areas that I was told that you're interested in, one is called the Nazir, the person who takes a vow not to drink wine or eat anything from the grapevine. A person would not cut their hair and could not become what's called impure from being in contact with a dead person or a dead animal. So those are the 3 requirements to become what's called a Nazir. Not cutting hair, not partaking of the grapevine, especially drinking wine, and not becoming impure from death. So the whole question is, why would someone make this vow? He had to take a vow. He had to make a promise not to do these things. So the question is, the Torah doesn't explain exactly why would a person do this. So what we learn from this is that, and I have to mention that in general, we're told that even though the Torah allows a person to take a vow, again, a vow is a solemn promise to do something. And since if we make a vow, we have to keep it. And because of human nature, we don't always do what we say we were going to do. So even though the Torah allows us to take a vow, it warns us really not to unless we really have to. So the question is, so why do they allow a person to make this kind of vow of not cutting their hair and not drinking wine and not becoming impure from death? So what's the circumstances? Who is in this position? So we have to say everything in the Torah is what's called archetypal. Archetypal means that all of the people that we're learning about, all the stories, these are not one-time events of things that happened a long time ago. Everything in the Torah is eternal, and we can learn from it. And so we have stories of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, but these are not just people who came and went and the stories were only happening to them. These are what are called archetypal stories that play themselves out in every generation. So today we do not have the vow of being a Nazir because we don't have a temple now. And there's no way that the person could, in a sense, stop being a Nazir. So why would a person take this vow? So this is teaching us something very, very important, that sometimes when a person is challenged and can't muster up the inner strength to deal with what the problem is, what the obstacle is. And here the perfect example is addiction. If we know that many people are addicted to alcohol, they're alcoholics. There are many people who are addicted to drugs. There are many people who are, even though we usually don't think of this, but are addicted to having all kinds of sexual relations. Some people are addicted to gambling. Some people are addicted to what's called extreme sports. So we all have things that we have a hard time staying on top of. Some people are addicted to eating too much. There's all kinds of addictions. And so this vow of the Nazir is not just talking about a person who can't control themselves for one thing. It applies to people in every generation. So the Torah allowed, and we have to understand that in the old days, drinking wine was, everyone drank wine. It was something that was like there all the time. Some people drank wine at every meal. There's still people today who it's not that they're addicted to it, but it's part of the culture of drinking wine at every meal. But obviously, sometimes people cannot control themselves. So the Torah allows a person to make a vow not to drink wine, because other than doing that, a person can't get control of themselves. And so the point we want to make is when we read this in the Torah, in the Bible, it's not about, like I said, some circumstances a long time ago that doesn't apply to us today. So this is why people who are addicted to different things, that's why today there are all kinds of what are called 12-step programs, where there's a program to help people break their addictions, whether it's to alcohol or drugs or food or gambling or sex or spending money. Many people are addicted to spending money that they don't have. And they run up these huge credit card bills and they can't stop themselves. They can't stop themselves. So this story of the Nazir is really a story for every generation, and really for especially our generation, where it's such a material world. I mean, we always live in a material world, but it seems that cultures around the world, everywhere, there's a tremendous emphasis on material goods, on buying, on having more and having more. And so this idea that we can take a vow in order to get control of ourselves is a very, very important idea. Now, when we read the story of the Nazir, so when it comes time for the Nazir to end their vow, a person can make the vow for a month or a year or whenever. But when it's time that the time period is over, the person feels that they have control of themselves now. So we're told that they have to bring, again, this is at the time of the temple, they would bring what's called a sin offering. They would bring an offering for something that they did wrong. So all the commentators ask, well, what have they done wrong? The Torah said you can make this vow. They made the vow. They kept the vow. So what sin is involved? What wrongdoing is involved? And our sages tell us very paradoxically, what was the sin involved there? That a person refrained from the pleasures of this world. Because drinking wine can be very pleasurable, as long as you don't drink too much and you become addicted to it. So if you hear the paradox here, that a person became a Nazir in order to break their attachment to the material world, to something that they couldn't control. And yet when they end their vow, they have to bring a sin offering because they refrained from enjoying this world. So we need to explain this. Like it's very paradoxical. So this has to do with our whole relationship with the physical world, the whole relationship of the soul to the body, and our whole relationship to our passions and our desires. So the way we explain it is, if we go back to the book of Genesis, so it says that when God formed man, so it's spelled, we have to understand that in the Torah, certain words are usually written in a certain way. If they're written different, we're told that there's a secret message here. So the word in Hebrew for to form is vayitzer. And usually we'll only have one yud, one letter yud. But here it has two letters yud. So our sages ask, well, why are there two yuds here? We never see this word with two yuds. What is being hinted to? What is being alluded to here? And so the answer is that God created us, formed us with two inclinations. One is called the good inclination, and one is called the not so good inclination. In Hebrew, the Yetzer HaTov and the Yetzer Hara. These are the same words that are used for the tree of knowledge of good and evil. That we have an inclination towards the good, and we have an inclination towards not so good. Every person has desires, has passions. And so all of life is this balance between the body and the soul. Because the body is attached to what's called the animal soul. In a sense, a human being is part animal, but has a divine soul. Because remember, we're created in the image of God. So what is the image of God? We have a divine soul, but we also have a body that is drawn, just like animals. Animals are, we'll use a computer term, are hardwired for two things: survival and pleasure. An animal, all the decisions that an animal is making is based on surviving, and part of that also is having children, having a next generation. Animals are driven to give birth to a next generation, and pleasure. Well, a human being also has these same drives, a drive towards pleasure. And so the balancing act is, there are certain pleasures of this world that are considered moral and ethical and healthy and acceptable. And then there's also different pleasures that are not so moral and ethical and lead us into very, very non-healthy situations. So here, we're being taught when the Nazir ends his or her vow, they have to bring a sin offering to tell us that, okay, you needed to refrain from wine because you didn't have control over the wine. The wine was controlling you. But once you get control, then we are meant to enjoy the pleasures of this world. It's Judaism is not an ascetic type of philosophy that there are certain religions or certain spiritual paths where even marriage is not allowed because this is considered going after your evil inclination. Well, Judaism does not see it that way. Obviously, there's certain things that are permitted and certain things that are forbidden. But bottom line is we are not only allowed to enjoy the pleasures of this world, we are being taught that we should. And if we refrain from it, it's not really a Torah way of life. But it's a balance. Obviously, it's a balance of learning to enjoy everything that this world has to offer, but in a permissible, healthy, non-addictive type of way. Okay, so that is a little bit about the Nazir. The second idea that I was asked to talk about was the priestly blessing, what's called Birchat Kohanim. And this is also in the second portion of the Torah. And in Hebrew, it's called Birchat Kohanim, the blessing of the priestly caste. So in the Torah, there's three different divisions of the Jewish people. There are the Kohanim, we'll call them the priests, the Leviim, the Levites, and everyone else, basically. And the priests and the Levites, in a sense, they were servants of the people. They had certain privileges, but ultimately they were the servants of the people. They were the teachers, and they served in the temple, and they did not have a particular inheritance in the land of Israel, because they were meant to serve the people. So in the temple in Jerusalem, originally in the tabernacle in the desert, there was a blessing that the priests would say every day for the people. And even today, in the synagogue, in the morning prayer service here in Israel, if there is a Kohen, a priest, we still do this priestly blessing, the one we're about to learn about. So in other words, here's another example of here we read something from the Torah, and here we're still doing it. It's not that it was only for the tabernacle or for the temple. We still do it, and it's a very, very important thing. So it's in the second portion. If anyone wants to look it up later, it's the 6th chapter and the 23rd through 26th verse. Again, the 6th chapter of the book of Numbers, and verses 23 through 26. So I'm going to read it in English, and then we will discuss it. So it says that God spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to Aaron and his sons, saying, so shall you bless the children of Israel, saying to them." And then there are three blessings. There are three blessings. The first one is, may God bless you and safeguard you. May he keep you. May he protect you. May God bless you and protect you. That's the first blessing. The second is, may God illuminate his countenance for you and be gracious to you. In other words, may God shine his light on you and show you grace. And the third blessing is, may God lift up his countenance to you and establish peace for you. That's the third blessing. So the first one is really God protecting you. The second one is God shining his light and having grace on you. And the third one is that God should give peace. In short, those are the three blessings. Now, I want to point out that the way Birchat Kohanim is done is a talit is a prayer shawl. It's a white garment, and we wear it in prayer. And when the priests do this blessing, they stand in the front of the synagogue, in front of the Holy Ark where the Torahs are kept, and they put the talis over their heads so you can't see them, and they stretch out their hands, and when they're saying the blessing, they are, in a sense, like encompassing the whole congregation with their hands. And here it doesn't say that, but in a different place in the Torah, it mentions the idea that when the Kohanim say this blessing, they do it with their hands stretched out. So there's an amazing, what's called a remez, a hint in the Torah. We would ask, what's the connection between a blessing and a person's hands? So I'll mention that this is, the whole book is called the Book of Numbers. That's how it's called in English. Numbers are very, very important in the Torah. They're very symbolic. And there's a whole level of understanding the Torah according to the mathematics, the numbers of the Torah. So these three blessings have 15 words. And it's actually like a triangle. The first verse has 3 words. The second verse has 5 words. And the third verse has 7 words. So it's like almost like a triangle, the form of it. And in letters, the first verse has 15 letters, the second has 20, and the third is 25. So again, it's like a very, very symmetrical form, very, very symmetrical. And in fact, we're told that one of the second blessing is God should show you grace. So we're told that the word for grace in Hebrew, chen, among many other meanings, means a type of beauty that is symmetrical, a symmetrical beauty. So here, though, we're going to look at the numbers in its connection with the hands. So like, again, we said that there's a total of 15 words and 60 letters. 15, 20, and 25 equals 60 letters. Again, 15 words and 60 letters. Now, when you look at the hand, there's exactly 15 joints and segments of the hand. If you look at each finger, there's 2 joints. So that means there's 1, 2, 3 segments of each finger. So we have 4 fingers. So that's 12 segments. The thumb, though, only has 1 joint. So that is 2 more. 12 and 2 is 14. And the palm of the hand, which unites the whole hand, is 1. So the hand has 15 segments. So this is already a hint. What's the connection of this blessing with the hands? But it's even more than that, that the Talmud tells us that inside the hand, there are 30 bones. So when the Kohen stretches out both of their hands, there are 60 bones. So this is an allusion to the connection of why does this blessing have to do with hands? Again, 15 segments of the hand and 60 bones in both hands. So this is just a beautiful, what's called a hint or an allusion to the connection of the hands. But it's really more than that, because when the Kohen stretches out their hands, what's happening, as it were, is God's light and energy is coming through the Kohen, and the Kohen is like sharing this energy with everyone. And we're told that in the temple, the way that we say God's name is not the way that it's written. We do not pronounce God's name according to the 4 letters of God's name. This is a secret, and we say God's name differently. But in the temple, when they did the priestly blessing, we don't do it now, but only in the temple, they would actually say God's name the way it's written. And we're told that it was so powerful that it's hard to even explain. Actually, on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, when the high priest would say God's name the way it's written, we're told that everyone fell on the ground spontaneously, not because someone said, okay, now everyone bow down. It wasn't like that. People heard the name of God, and it was so awesome that people just naturally just fell on the ground. And so today, that's the reason that the Kohen puts the talus over their head. We don't see the hands. We only see the hands stretched out with the talit covering it, because we're told that if we really understood the influx of light that was happening, that we would also hit the floor, because it was so awesome. So this is the idea of drawing light down and then sharing it with others. Now, this is a concept about what does a person do in this world. We're told the idea is that we are supposed to be conduits, just like the priests were conduits for this blessing. Before Israel received the Torah at Sinai, so God said to them, you are to be a nation of priests and a holy people. So when we learn about this blessing, it's not just really for the priests. We're told that this is we'll call it the national mission of the Jewish people. Isaiah said it, that our mission is to be a light unto the nations. And remember, the second blessing here is this idea that God should shine his light upon you and have grace. But the idea is, if we receive God's light, then our job, our task, our mission is to share that light. So the priestly blessing, again, is not just for the priests. It's a message for the Jewish people, but truthfully, every person hopefully has a relationship with God, and hopefully everyone is finding grace in God's eyes. And then every human being is meant to share this light. So now one last thing that I want to say is about the last word is shalom. Again, I'll read it. The last blessing is, may God lift up his countenance to you and establish for you peace. So in other words, the priestly blessing ends with the word peace. We have 3 prayer services every day. And the main part of each service is what's called the standing or silent prayer. In Hebrew, it's called the Amidah. It literally means the standing prayer. And we say it silently, even though our lips move and we like whisper the words, but no one else hears it. So it's like the silent prayer. And the silent prayer ends with the word peace. And the Talmud, our oral tradition, the entire Talmud ends with the word peace. So this is already telling us how important peace is. And as we said before, everything in the Torah is archetypal. So when the third blessing of the Kohanim is the blessing of peace, so this is, again, it's not something we just read about. It's like the most important thing. And in fact, in the Talmud, it says that God didn't find any vessel for blessing greater than peace. So that statement is obviously, in a sense, taken from the Birchat Kohanim, from the priestly blessing. It's a blessing, but it ends like the vessel for the blessing is peace. And in another place in the Talmud, it says that the entire Torah, its purpose is to bring peace. And I have to say, that's why it's so painful that the political situation in the world is, in every generation, there's this war after war after war after war, is because God wants to bless everyone with peace, but we haven't made the vessel, we haven't made the means for this peace to be manifest. Now, if we look at the word shalom, so the first letter is the shin. The shin it looks like a 3-pronged shape, and we're told it represents flames of a fire. The word in Hebrew for fire is esh, which is this letter, shin. The last letter of peace is the mem, which is the letter of water, mayim. So here you have the first letter of peace is fire. The last letter is water. So we're told in this world, this is a bit paradoxical. In this world, water puts out fire, and fire makes water evaporate. So in this world, fire and water are total opposites, and they, in a sense, destroy each other. But let's look at the word heaven. The word in Hebrew for heaven is Shamayim. The word Shamayim is a composite of the shin and the word mayim, fire and water. But in heaven, fire and water can coexist. It's like a triangle. In heaven, fire and water coexist. Down here, fire and water are like opposites. So shalom brings peace between opposites. Or as it's said, we don't make peace with our best friend. We make peace with our enemies. When we have an enemy, we make peace. Hopefully, we make peace. And so I'll end that in a living way, the greatest peace, at least from a Torah perspective, is Shabbat. Our greeting in Shabbat is Shabbat Shalom. That is the traditional greeting, Shabbat Shalom. Because unless you really experience it, it's very hard to explain. But there is no peace in this world like the peace of Shabbat, where we, in a sense, step away from the 24/7 world that we've created. And for us, it's 24/6. And the seventh day, it's its own dimension. It's its own world. It's actually, we're told, and it's interesting, remember we said that Birchat Kohanim has 60 letters. So we're told that Shabbat is 1/60th of the world to come. It's 1/60th of the world to come. It's an experience of a different plane of soul, a different plane of consciousness. And that's why the greeting on Shabbat is Shabbat Shalom. So, okay, with that, we finished Birchat Kohanim.